Okay, and double all praises on this video is based on a lesson of Daniel's the 11th chapter 4 breakdown. It's not talking about no Obama. It's not talking about Russia and America. It's not talking about Antiochus Epiphanes. It's not talking about uh, the abomination and desolation. Ain't talking about no goddamn Obama or Russia. It ain't talking about no Antiochus Epiphanes, the king of the north and the king of the south. It ain't talking about no damn. But I don't even like to diss things. What ain't is, I'm gonna say what it is, because the Son of Man came to minister and not to be ministered to. So the Holy Spirit had to reveal to you through the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the one true living power, the creator of heaven and earth. His power, his understanding, he had to put the understanding of force to that spirit to enlighten you to the course of what is his holy scriptures talking about. Because he made the doctrine perfect. So this is a hard top. This is a hard chapter, but it's through the spirit. It's practically not that hard, but it is something that is not too. Nobody can just get in this and just say this is what they're talking about without the Holy Spirit, because the Lord said what? And Peter's, I stir up your pure mind, though you once have known this. So the Holy Spirit had to stir you up to the course of life according to what the function of God's scriptures is, because the Most High scriptures is validated based on his power of him functioning in reality. So this is Daniel's 11 chapter 4 breakdown. This is Daniel 11. Also, I in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him. Right. So Daniel stood to confirm and strengthen Darius the third, the king of the Medes, the king of the Persians, which was so-called what? Elamite, which is the Iranian ancient. Persia is Iran, modern day Iran today. The second verse of Daniel's 11, because it's long, so I'm just going to get to it. And if you get it through the Holy Spirit, it's for you. If not, it's not for you, because the Holy Spirit, I don't have to lie. I don't want to create none based on the Holy Scriptures to say some is, it ain't. Because I know factual by the Holy Spirit what God said and what his scriptures mean. And it's perfect. And it's unrefutable, because the scriptures is perfect. The Holy Spirit perfect. The Bible said what? Into the law, into the testimony. They speak not according to this, because there's not no light in them. So these laws, the light of the law, it enlightens you with this understanding of the Holy Spirit, of the Most High words which he functioned. In this period, what it's talking about. And now will I, this second verse of Daniel 11, and now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. So, the 3 kings that stood up after Darius, was who? Cyrus, Darius, Cyrus the Great, which was 559 to 530 BCE. Darius the Great, 522. Not Darius the Third, Shalakia. Cyrus the Great. Darius, Cyrus the Great. Cyrus was 640 to 600 BCE. Cyrus the Great was the second. Cyrus the Great, 559 to 530 BCE, which is Iraq. Iranian kings, Persian kings, so-called East Indians. Darius the Great, 522 to 486 BCE, and Xerxes the Great, king of Persia, 485 to 465 BCE. And the fourth shall be far richer than they all. Right, Xerxes was more glamorous type king of Persia. They show you that on 300, he was Xerxes, and he had gold all over his ears, all over his face, all over his nose, all over his neck. He was far richer, meaning he's far more. He decked himself more with gold and jewels. 300, Xerxes talked to Leonidas. He showed himself what? That he had gold all over his face. Literally. So the fourth shall be far richer than they all the kings, which is the Achaemenid Empire. The Achaemenid Empire, which was Persia, Iran, the Achaemenid Empire, which is so-called East Indies. The part of the statue in Daniel the second chapter tell you of the statue. Babylon, Persia was the silver arms. So Persia, that was the king. Babylon, the Medes and the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. And that was Persians. So the four kings is King Cyrus, which is Daniel's 2. Cyrus the Great, Darius the Great, and Xerxes the Great. Through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. Right, so that was talking about the Greco-Persian Wars, which was 499 BC to 449 BCE, and 485 to 465. So he was alive during this time. Xerxes the Great. He stirred up against the realm of Grecia because there was Greco-Persian wars. The Greeks and the Persians had different wars that stirred up against Greece and Persia, because Greece was going to be able to be implemented by that statue of the gold head, the silver arms, the breastplate, the brass with arm, the leg of arm, the brass is Greece. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. Right, a mighty king is going to raise up and do according to his will, his plan, which is the plan of the Most High Yahweh. But he thought it was his plan because he planned it. The plan of Alexander the Great. That's talking about Alexander the Great. That king in Daniel 11, the third chapter, is talking about Daniel 11 and 2. It's talking about the four kings of Persia, the Achaemenid Empire, Cyrus the First, Cyrus the Great, Darius the Great, and Xerxes the Great. Daniel 11 and 3 is talking about, and a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. It's Alexander the Great, because he had a plan to conquer all the eastern hemisphere unto Egypt and Lebanon, starting from Greece, which is in Europe, circling all the eastern hemisphere to passing Israel unto Egypt, Africa, in Lebanon, in Libya, Shalapia. And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. That's talking about Alexander the Great, his plan. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the four winds of heaven. Right? How is his kingdom broken and divided to the four winds of heaven? This First Maccabees 1 and 6. First Maccabees 1 and 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them which was yet alive. While he was yet alive. And who is this talking about? This, and it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, the Macedonian, who, right? So it's talking about Alexander the Great, the Greek, Alexander the Greek of Macedonia, which is a city in Greece. So that mighty king that shall stand up in Daniel 11:3 is Alexander the Greek. And when in Daniel 11:4, Alexander the Greek is that king that shall rise up. Daniel 11:4, and when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the four winds. Right, that's talking about the what? The Diochi. The Diochi, which is his four generals, Alexander the Greek. In 33-6 BCE, the Macedonian Greek kingdom was split, called Diochi, which is the successors. And the successors, the four successors, was Cassandra, Ptolemy, and Antiochus and Seleucus, which was 323 BCE. 323 BCE. During when Alexander the Greek was going to die, he's part of his kingdom, Greece, that he conquered, that he ruled by his four generals, Cassandra, Ptolemy, Antiochus, and Seleucus. That's how his kingdom was divided to the four winds of heaven, and not to his prosperity, right? Because it wasn't to his prosperity, because he conquered all the Eastern Hemisphere, Alexander the Greek. He conquered all the Eastern Hemisphere unto Egypt and Libya, past Israel into Egypt and Libya, and conquered it, and only to his kingdom to be divided to the four corners, the four winds, by his four generals, Cassandra, Ptolemy, Antiochus, and Seleucus, which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up even of heaven, and not to his prosperity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others besides those. Right, even besides those, his kingdom was plucked up, because it was rooted out by Rome. Greece fell to Rome. Greece fell to Rome in 146 BCE. Greece fell to Rome. So his Alexander the Great, Alexander the Greek, his kingdom, Daniel 11:4, was broken up by the Diochi, which is the four generals of his four generals. Alexander the four generals was Cassandra, Ptolemy, Antiochus, and Seleucus. And not to his prosperity, because he proceeded to conquer all the Eastern Hemisphere. Alexander the Greek conquered all the Eastern Hemisphere. And once he conquered all the Eastern Hemisphere, his kingdom was divided, not to his prosperity, which he proceeded to conquer. Which he ruled over all the Eastern Hemisphere, for his kingdom should be plucked up even for others besides those. Right, that's talking about to Rome, because Greece had to fall to Rome. Because the statue in Daniel the 2nd chapter tell you of the Babylonian head, the chest press muscles with the silver and the brass thighs, which was next after the Medo-Persian, which was the brass thighs in Rome with the iron legs. So Rome was next to rule. And Rome, and the feet with Murray clay. Greece fell to Rome in 146 BCE. And right. So that's what Daniel 11:2, and now what? Right, the four kings in Daniel 11:2 is Cyrus the first, Cyrus the Great the second, Darius the Great the third, and the fourth king is Xerxes the Great, king of Persia. Daniel 11:3 is talking about Alexander the Great, and Daniel 11:4 is talking about Alexander the Greek kingdom. Alexander the Greek kingdom was divided into was divided by his four generals into four different kingdoms. Of his kingdom was divided into four different sects of his kingdom by his four generals. It's Cassandra, Ptolemy, Antiochus, and Seleucus. And this Daniel's 11:5. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. So the king of the south, is Neoptolemus the first of Epirus, which is south of Greece. The king of the south and the king of the north is talking about southern Greece and northern Greece. Southern Greece and northern Greece. The king of the south, the first part is talking about southern Greece and northern Greece. Then it take about Greece period, and then the Persians, which is south from Greece, because north Europe is what Greece is, and south from the north of Greece is where? South is Persia, Iran, the Middle East, and Greece is in Europe, the north. But the first king was this Daniel 11:5. Daniel 11:5. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. Right? So Neoptolemus the first of Epirus, the king of the south, which was called Molossians. And one of his princes is his brother, which is Arembius, which is Arymbas, Arembius. That was his brother, one of his princes. So they ruled Greece together, practically. The king of the south and the king of the north ruled Greece together. They first started ruling Greece together, North Greece and Southern Greece. So the king, Daniel 11:5, and the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. So the king of the south is Neoptolemus, the king of the south, he ruled in 360 BCE. The king of the south king of the south of Greece, and one of his princes is his brother, he was the king, so he was next to the throne, so he's a prince, brother, Arembius, which succeeded his brother in 358 BCE, and his dominion was great because he ruled Greece. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together for the king's daughter of the south. The king's daughter of the south, Neoptolemus, the king's daughter of the south, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. Right. So the king of the south, so the king of the north is Philip II. And in Daniel 11:6, the king of the south, the king of the north is Philip II, which was the father of Alexander the Great, which his rulership was 359 BCE to 336 BCE. The father of Alexander the Great, the king of the north of Macedon, north of Greece. So south of Greece was the rulership of south of Greece, Neoptolemus, which was the king of the south, and Philip II was the king of the north. And Philip came, this king of the south, which was Neoptolemus' brother, which offered what? His daughter, Neoptolemus' daughter, his niece. That was the king of the south. The king of the south was Neoptolemus. Neoptolemus. Neoptolemus, which ruled in 360 BCE, the king of the south. And the king of the north is Philip II, the ruler of north of Greece. The ruler of the king of the ruler of the king of the south of Greece, and the ruler of the king of the north of Greece and south of Greece. Ptolemaeus ruled south of Greece, and Philip II ruled north of Greece. And Philip II came to Neoptolemus to rule. Neoptolemus' brother Arrhabaeus came to Philip II, the king of the north. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. Right, to make an agreement. And what was that agreement? Arrhabaeus, which was the current king after his brother, because his brother died in 360 BCE. He made a treaty, which is a formal agreement. That's what a treaty is. With a diplomatic marriage of Neoptolemus' daughter, Olympus, to marry Philip, king of the north. Right, to marry the king of the north. So in the end of years, they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of the arm. Right, the power of the arm, which was talking about. Right, so the king of the south, he offered the king of the south daughter to Philip the Great, the king of the north, to an agreement, which is the agreement that they made with the king of the north, Philip II, with a diplomatic marriage to Neoptolemus' daughter, Olympus, to marry Philip, the king of the north, which made her queen consort of Philip. And it say what? But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. So when it say, but she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand, usually shares her husband's social rank and status, but historically she does not share the king's political and military power. So the arm is the strength. That woman who married the king Philip II of the king of the north, the agreement that they made, which is a marriage diplomatic for the king's daughter of the south, she wasn't going to able to rule the military force. Neither shall he stand. Right? He didn't stand. So he didn't rule by him doing it. He thought he was going to be able to get the treaty, was going to make an agreement for him to rule, which was Arrhabaeus, the king of the south at the time of his brother. He gave his brother's Neoptolemus' daughter, Olympus, to Philip II, the king of the north, for agreement, a treaty, which would give her social rank, but not military strength. So, but she shall not retain the power of the arm. She didn't have the military strength. Neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up. Right? She was given up, meaning she was done away with. And they that brought her, and he that begat her, right, and they that brought her, Olympus, he lost his kingdom because of that. He lost his kingdom because Philip II cast him off, Olympus, the king of the south, and became full king. His son, Philip II, Alexander the Greek, became the full king of Greece. And he that begat her, right, which is Neoptolemus' daughter. He begat her. He had sex and produced her in life, and he died. And he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times, right? And he that strengthened her in these times, which is Philip II, he lost the rulership to his son, Alexander the Greek, in 336 BCE. But out of a branch of her roots, right, Olymius, which is the wife of Philip, he took her to wife. The king of the north took the king of the south daughter, Neoptolemus, the king of the south daughter, to wife, Olymius. He took her to wife and had a son, which is Alexander the Greek. His father is Philip II, and his mother Olymius, which was the daughter of the king of the south, which shall come with an army, right, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against him and prevail, right? So Alexander the Great, as a boy, he instigated a fight that by Philip II military personal bodyguards, his military, that killed him. So he came to the fortress. Philip II marriage. He was at his marriage ceremony marrying one of his wives. And Alexander the Greek, as a boy, he instigated the fight to one of his generals, one of his bodyguards, to kill Philip II. That's why I say, in Daniel 11:7, but out of a branch of her roots, which is Olymius, her son, out of her descendants of her roots, shall stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. Right? He dealt against Philip II and prevailed. He came to rulership. Alexander the Great surpassed his father in rulership in 336 BCE to rule the Greek Empire. And right, he instigated a fight by one of his generals, his bodyguards, which killed Philip II, his father. In Daniel 11:8, and shall also carry captives into Egypt their gods, with their princes and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold. And he shall continue more years than the king of the north. Right, Alexander the Greek, he would do more, he would continue more, he would do more and conquer more than his father Philip II did, because he's going to conquer Egypt and rule over Egypt and take captives of Egypt and gold and silver, because he would make it to see Egypt. That was a part of the plan of Alexander the Greek. That's why his heart was lifted up, because he planned this out. He thought he did it by himself, but the Most High Yahweh set up Greece to rule. That's why his heart was lifted up. He was proud, because he had a plan to do this, and he was able to do it. And his heart was lifted up. So he came around to rule Greece. His father then ruled all the Eastern Hemisphere until Alexander the Greek ruled over Media Persia until he conquered Medes. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom and shall return to his own land. Right. So Arambius, he died because Alexander the Greek became the full king of Greece in 336 BCE. Arambius, which was the king of the south, Arambius, the brother of Neoptolemus, the king of the south of Greece, he went back into Greece and died. But his son shall be stirred up. Now it's talking about Daniel 11:10. It's talking about what? It's talking about Greece. It's talking about what? The king of the south. Now in Daniel 11:10 is Persia. It's talking about Persia. Darius of Persia, king of Persia, at the time of Alexander the Greek. But his son shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come, and one shall certainly come, and overflow and pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up, even to his fortress. So it's talking about what? The Greco-Persian.
And the king of the south shall be moved with, but his sons shall, this Daniel 11 and 10, but his sons shall be stirred up, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. Daniel 11:10 talking about the Greco-Persian War, Greece and Persian War, which started 499 BCE and to 449 BCE. Started with Cyrus the Great. It started with Cyrus the Great, which conquered an inhabited region of Greece. Ionona, Enoa, Enoa, which was 547 BCE. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. That battle was that was the Greco-Roman War, which was 449 BCE. And the king of the south is the Persians, and the king of the north is the Greeks. And Daniel 11, and the king of the south shall be moved with choler. That's talking about the king of the south is the Persian king, which was Cyrus, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. And he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. Right? The multitude is the battle of Issus, which was 33 BCE, when Darius the third, when Alexander the Greek, he killed Darius the third military. But for the king of the north shall return. That's talking about the king of the north is Alexander the Greek, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches, right? Because Alexander the Greek, he killed majority of their military. Alexander the Greek military of Macedonia they killed majority of Darius' military. They killed a lot of the military. So let's this Daniel 11 and 13. For the king of the north shall return and set forth a multitude greater than the former, because he took out, and shall certainly come after certain years. Certain years is 2 years. 2 years. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south, right? Many was against the king of the south, which was Darius. Darius the third. He is the king of the south. In Daniel 11. And the king of the north is Alexander the Greek. So, and in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south, right? The king of the south, which was the king of the south, which is Darius. Many was against him, which is Alexander the Greek army, his military. Many shall stand up against the king of the south. Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. What's that vision? The vision is they thought to establish the vision, and that vision is the abomination that make it desolation. That's the vision. The abomination that make it desolation. The abomination that make it desolation. And this Daniel 9 and 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease, and for the overspurring of abomination he shall make it desolate, even until the consumption, and that is determined, shall be poured upon the desolate. The Lord said what? Right. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south, also the robbers of thy people. The robbers of thy people is talking about 70 AD. Right. And the Romans, the robbers of thy people is the Romans, and what these were the Greeks. Of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. Right. So the Greeks thought to conquer even over Israel and rule them and disperse Judah, Benjamin, and Levi through the four corners like the Romans did, according to the Romans. Those the Romans who did it. They weren't under the name Greeks. They was the same people, the Greeks and the Romans, but the Romans, they set that vision, which is Daniel. He said what? At this Daniel 7:9-23, at the beginning of thy supplication means the beginning of your conversation, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Great Daniel, therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. So the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. So the Greeks thought to scatter Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the so-called African-American Negro, so-called Haitian, so-called Jamaicans, through the four winds from Jerusalem, and to do away with the sacrifice, the holy sanctuary, to do away with the sanctuary, which is in the temple of Jerusalem. But they failed. They failed to do so because they want that time. So the king of the north shall come. This is the 15th verse. So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand. Right. So the king of the south, Darius, he couldn't withstand. They could not withstand. They couldn't withstand. They couldn't stop Alexander the Greek taking over the Middle East in part towards Persia, because they most stealth fighters was dying, was getting killed. And the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, right? His chosen military men. He is stealth fighter. Darius the Mede, strongest military, couldn't stop Alexander the Greek, the white man, the so-called white man, and the Persians was so-called East Indians. Neither shall there be any strength to withstand, right? He wasn't going to, Alexander the Greek couldn't, Darius the Persian could not stop Alexander the Greek from conquering the whole Middle East, Eastern, so-called Middle East, which is Eastern Hemisphere, all towards Persia and towards Syria and Persia or Iran. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, right? Well, he that cometh against Darius shall do according to his own will, which is his understanding, because he had a plan. Alexander the Greek, he had a plan. His plan, this Daniel 11:3, and a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will, right? His plan. The Lord said, I come to do thy will, O God, is written of me, to do thy law. So it was a commandment from Alexander the Greek, and his understanding that he was saying he commanded his ways, that's going to be, I'm going to make my plan is going to be prosperous. He was proud, the so-called white man, Alexander the Greek. So, but he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, right? His own will, his own understanding, because the Lord said what? Man's heart is of the Most High. How then can a man understand his own way? So Alexander was proud because he didn't know the Most High. He thought he was doing this on his own, conquering a whole known Eastern Hemisphere, and it wasn't a part of prophecy, which is a part of prophecy. The statue in Daniel 2, the head of gold, the arms of silver, because the Greeks is the stomach of brass, and the Romans is iron, which was next, and the feet of Murray Clay is NATO in America, the 10 toes in America. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and stand in the glorious land. Right, the glorious land is Israel. That's those called the Garden of Eden, which was in Genesis, the Garden of Eden where Adam lived. Adam the first, he was a man of righteousness, so he was like the first man because everybody else flooded during the time of Noah after Adam died for about 900 years. So the glorious land is Jerusalem, the Holy Land, where the so-called white man, the Jewish devils that's not Jews, the so-called black African American Negroes is the Jews who scattered through the four corners, just like the Lord said that vision. That was the vision of Moses, which the Most High told Moses that we were going to go into captivity because of our sinning. And that was Deuteronomy 28-68, telling you about slavery on the so-called black Hispanic. That was the vision to destroy them out their land. And that vision was prophesied 5,000 years, about 3,000, about 3,500 years before the Greeks even came, or the Romans. So the robbers of thy people is the Romans. Glorious land, which by his hand shall be consumed. Right, by the hand of Greece it was consumed. Why? Because the Greeks started dwelling. They fought through the military of they fought through the military of Alexander the Greek, which was ruling over the Middle East at that time. From Persia, Bacchus was the commander of the Median Persians who ruled according to the Daniel the statue, and they ruled over the Middle East. And but which by his hand shall be consumed. Right, they consumed Jerusalem by fighting against Jerusalem military officers and against the East Indians military, which was Baptist, the head commander of the Eastern Hemisphere that was ruling under the Medo-Persian Empire. He was an officer. But by the hands of Alexander the Greek, he destroyed parts of Jerusalem. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright. Right, he shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom. Right, so he set his face to enter to the strength with the strength of his whole kingdom, which was all his military. He thought that everybody gonna be for him after he conquered. He said his whole military force, which was to take they enter into the Holy Land, they enter into the Eastern Hemisphere everywhere. The Greeks, the so-called white man, and his face to enter to with the strength of his whole kingdom, which is his military. He thought to set his rule in Jerusalem forever and over the Eastern Hemisphere. That was his plan. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Upright ones was the East Indians, because the Persians, they started following towards the ways of Greece military. Some of them gave up fighting to fight with Alexander the Greek to continue to take over the whole Eastern Hemisphere. Upright ones with him. Thus shall he do. Right, thus shall he do Alexander the Greek. He shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her. Right, so the East Indians gave women to the Greeks, and they was corrupted because they was a bunch of homosexuals. The Alexander the Greek, They came from the Caucasus Mountains. Caucasian means Caucasus Mountains. So they call themselves Caucasian because they come from the rocks, the caves of Caucasus Mountains. The monkey man, the ape man, I can't believe it. Geico commercial when he showed himself, even a caveman should do it. That was the so-called white race. That is a part of their origin. So they come from the Caucasus Mountains, and before they was doing all type of manner of wicked disease. They had all type of smallpox diseases, all type of AIDS and different diseases from being vile faggots, homosexuals in the caves. It was a bunch of homosexuals. The Lord said, least there be any fornicator or profane person. A fornicator means pornography. Foreign is opposite of God's laws. As Esau is the so-called white race. That's the true Greeks. That's the true Edomites. The Greeks, the so-called white race. The true so-called white man is a Edomite, Ishawite, and the Hebrew washed away, because he don't lack pigmentation, and so the Lord made him detestable, and that's what the Alexander the Greek was into. They was into gay sex, having animal sex and things like that with their animals. So they styled the East Indian Persians, who's upright ones. They had a better sense of life and of humanism. They gave Alexander the Greek women from conquering them, and he shall give him the daughter of women. The daughter of women is the East Indian women, corrupting her. Why he corrupt her? Because he had diseases. Alexander the Greek corrupted the women that he had got from the East Indian militaries, because they was with Alexander to not kill them all off, and they gave them women, which was and they corrupted her because there was diseases that he carried in him. After this, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, right? But she wasn't for Alexander the Greek. The wives of Alexander the Greek, the East Indian women, he had about 2 or 3 wives of East Indian women, and they stuck to their people. They didn't want to be a part of the so-called white man, the Greeks, the filthy homosexuals. Neither be for him, right? They not for him. They wasn't even for him, his wives. After this shall he turn his face unto the owls, which is the owls. Owls is where he came forth from the waters, from Greece across the Mediterranean Sea and unto towards Persia. That's why he looked, and this shall he turn his face unto the owls, and shall take many, right? And shall take many. He took many. He slew great kings. Alexander the Greek. It's First Maccabees. This is First Maccabees. 1 First Maccabees 1 and 1. And it came to pass after that, Alexander, son of Philip II of Macedonia is in Greece, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius, king of Persia. Right, that's what Daniel 11 talking about. He got killed. Darius got killed by one of his cousins. Alexander the Greek didn't kill him, but he was smitten based on one of his cousins being a perpetrator, and he got him killed because he slaughtered him. He slaughtered Darius, king of Persia and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, right? And made that his solid, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew kings of the earth, and went to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up, because he did according to his own will, like Daniel and Daniel 11 and 3. Daniel 11 verse 3. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion, and do according to his will. And so much that the earth was quiet before him, this Maccabees, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. Pride goeth before destruction, and his heart was lifted up. After this shall he return his face After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease without his own reproach. He shall cause it to turn upon him. Right, so his own disappointment, which was to do gay sex, his own disappointment. This after after this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease, which out his own reproach, out his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. Right, he had a disease from being a man of authority, but he did gay sex. So on his own behalf, being a prince, he basically died by himself because he was a homosexual and he had animal sex, which gave him a disease. The Lord smitten him with a disease. The Lord said it. And after this, this is First Maccabees 1:5. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So Alexander was sick as hell from AIDS. He had all type of stuff on him, rashes, burning, coughing up blood. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land. Right, he turned his ways, his direction towards his own land, which was Greece. That was where Alexander Greece was born from, because from his father Philip II that ruled the top of Macedonia, and Ptolemy ruled the bottom of Macedonia. That was the king of the north and the king of the south, until the king of the south became Darius, the Media Persians. Then shall he turn his face, Alexander turned his face, because he know what all the things he did, how he slew many people and won strongholds. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. Right, so he's dead and not to be found, because his bones was buried. Alexander died of a disease. That's on his own. And he shall stir up his power. And this, I'm skipping to 19 to 25, because 20 through 24 is talking about the Romans. But 11 towards 25, 20, 27, and 29, 40 through 45 is talking about the Greek, Alexander the Greek, and the Media Persians. But 20 to 24 unto 31 and 39 is talking about the Roman Empire, which during the time of the Roman Empire, which was I think the Sicarii, they was with them. That was the time of the Sicarii, which they was trying to take down the Romans. And he shall stir up his power. He shall store up his power and his courage against the king of the south. That's Alexander the Greek. He stirred up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, right? Because he took many men's weight, because his army was bigger than Media Persians, because they got killed. So all his army was still with him. The Greeks. They show you a movie of 300, how the Persians was and the Greeks. That was a real war in the Bible, in the Holy Scriptures, Daniel 11 chapter speaking on. And the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. Right, that was Darius the Mede. He stood up to fight against. He came out to fight with Alexander the Greek, because he was hearing that they were slaughtering off all the Persian military. So he came out. He came to the battle of issues, the battle of issues. He stirred up and stirred up to battle with a very great mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Right, Darius couldn't stand, because there was a plan that Alexander the Greek was going to rule all the Eastern Hemisphere, because that was prophecy of the statue of Daniel. and there was Alexander the Greek fulfilling the prophecy of the silver falling to the brass, the statue, the gold of head of is Babylonian, the ancient Babylonian Empire, which is Iraq, and the head of the arms of gold with Medes, and the Persians, which is East Indians, they're the Elamites, and according to the Bible, the nation of Elam, with the Medes, which was a descendant of Javan, the Japhites, Media, which was Aborigines of Australia. They together conquered the Babylonians, and Alexander the Greek killed off the Media Persians to reign, him and his top generals, which was Cassandra, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Antiochus. And mighty army, but he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Right, that was the device. Like the Lord said, his devices against Babylon to destroy her. The king of the north, the Lord said, from the north it comes from a person that shall make thee desolate, and he shall not regard silver nor gold, but he shall do according to his plan. Because his plan, the device he have, Putin plan is to destroy America. That's God's plan. So he shall forecast devices against him. So Alexander had a plan against the Media Persians, which is modern day Iranians and the Aborigines of Australia, and the modern day Greeks is the so-called white race. Yeah, they that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him. Right, his cousin killed him. Darius cousin killed him. Right, Darius and they fought, and Darius he got killed by his cousin. That's in that's the Holy Scriptures. And destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. Right, his army shall overflow. And the East Indians, they overflowed all the military towards Alexander the Greek. They overflowed, but they all got killed, and many shall fall down slain. Right, he sent his whole military, Darius, but a lot of them got killed, because that's what First Maccabees, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries, nations, kings who became tributary to him, which is Alexander the Greek. He took over the whole masses. This is what Daniel 11 talking about. Certain places in Daniel. But these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief. Right, that mischief is to rule over Jerusalem. They thought to set up ways to kill each other so that they can rule over Jerusalem. That's the mischief. And they shall speak lies at one table. Right, they gonna both speak lies. Like they gonna take over the whole world. Media Persians, we gonna kill the Greeks, and the Greeks said we gonna take over the whole world. We gonna kill it in the East Indies, the Media Persians. And they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper. Right, it did not prosper because the Media Persians was going to fall unto the Greeks, and the Greeks was going to fall in 146 BCE to the Romans, under the Roman Empire. That's why the Lord said what? But it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. The end of Jerusalem, we being in our homeland, which was the time appointed, which is 70 AD, by Titus and Vespasian. But for yet in the end shall be at the time appointed. Then shall he return into his land, Shalakia. And at the time appointed he shall return and come toward the south. But it shall not be as the former or as the latter. Right, that's Daniel 11. It ain't going to be as the former, which when he's first coming to conquer the Middle East from the Media Persians, which ruled the whole Middle East uh, after the Babylonians ruled. The Syrians ruled after the Egyptians. The Egyptians was a major power. The Assyrian was a major power. The Egyptians was black Africans. The Assyrian Empire was dark brown Arabian men, and the Media Persians was East Indians, Elamites, East Indians, East Indians, East Indians that's from Pakistan and India, and the Aborigines of Australia together, and they fell to the Romans. I mean to the Greeks, and then the Greeks were going to fall to um to Rome, but it shall not be as the former, right? When he's ready to battle, or as the latter, or when he ended, which was he made it to Egypt to conquer Egypt. He said he's gonna take over the whole Eastern Hemisphere unto Egypt, and that's what was his plan. That was Daniel. That was the Daniel. That was not Alexander the Greek plan. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him. Right, the king of the south is Darius. He's pushing at him towards to slaughter the Greeks from taking over their rulership. And the king of the north shall come against him. Right, Darius came out with his chariots and with his possessions to come against Alexander the Greek, which was the battle of Issues, which was 33 BCE. And the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. Right, the king of the north is Alexander the Greek. He came at the Persians like a whirlwind, like a whirlwind, which was swift. They came on him swift because Alexander the Greek them came with chariots. They had horses on their boats because the Mediterranean Sea split the region from Greece to Persia, which is the Mediterranean Sea. Him like a whirlwind with chariots and with horsemen, right, and with many ships, right, many ships from North Europe, which is Greece, and unto the Middle East through the Mediterranean Sea, which is Middle Sea, from the sea across with ships and horses coming out to take over the Middle East. Because in 33-4 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont in Asia. It take over Asia. It take over 100 trims, and he had 100 trims boats with the whole entire Macedonian Greek military. So he passed over a sea, him like a whirlwind with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. Right? What was that? What was his plan? I'm gonna read that again. And shall overflow and pass over. He said, and he shall enter into many countries and shall overflow and pass over, right? And went through the ends of the earth and took spoil. This first Maccabees, and went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. So, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over, right? He ruled over them. He shall enter also into the glorious land. The glorious land is the Holy Land, Jerusalem, where the so-called white people at. The king of Alexander the Greek entered into Jerusalem from Europe, from Greece, and many countries shall be overthrown. Right, that's right. many countries shall be overthrown. He said what? And he got a mighty strong rule over countries and nations and kings. Right? And but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom. Right? He didn't rule over the Petra. He didn't rule in Syria. He didn't have rulership over Syria, Edom, and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon. So his rulership reigned throughout the Middle East, only on the sea coast towards Jerusalem, not backwards where Edom dwelt, and where Edom dwelt, and where Moab was, and Ammon, because they was backwards from the sea. Edom, the ancient map of the descent of the Israelites, of the 12 tribes inheritance, and of the ancient world of the Edomites and the Moabites and the Ammonites. They lived backwards to the back part, but in the front part was Jerusalem, where the so-called African Americans, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native American Indians is from. They were the ones that was getting slaughtered from being under their rulership. Even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon, he shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. Right, that's what he said. This first Maccabees, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations. He shall enter into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. Right, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom, Moab, and the chief children of Ammon. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. Right, he conquered Egypt in 333 BCE. Alexander the Greek in his military, but he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all precious things of Egypt. Right, because they was at his submission. They become tributary. Tributary is the person who got to give you money based on your rule, like taxes. But it ain't taxes. It's just because taxes you get back, but it's like a tribute, meaning giving you some because you're a high-ranking king. So he had rulership over Egypt and Libya and Ethiopia shall be at his steps. He's ruled to Libya and Ethiopia, which was not Iraq, which was the Babylonians. Ethiopia, which is that Egypt. That's where he ruled from. Unto Jerusalem and over Persia and throughout the Asia onto Greece. And there, but tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Right, east and is the middle, the eastern hemisphere, and the north, which was from North Syria, or Iraq, Babylon. He died in Iraq and Babylon. Alexander the Greek. He died in ancient Babylon, which is Iraq today. The tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him, because he had a disease that troubled him. And they said, what? After these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So that's the tidings out of the east and out of the north that troubled him, because he had a disease and he was going to die. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. Right, Alexander the Greek slew many, and he went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils in many nations, and so much as the earth was be quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. He gathered a mighty host and ruled over countries and nations and kings with tributaries. And he made many wars and won strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. Right, he slew the kings of the earth. That's Alexander the Greek. But therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. That's why the Lord said, "Come, for the devil is come down unto you, for he have great wrath." The devil. And he say what? Therefore rejoice ye heavens. This Revelation 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them, Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down to you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time, and that short time is to rule. He got one day, a 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, he gonna be destroyed. He gonna be eradicated off the face of the earth. So his heart was lifted up. But starting with the Greeks, that was how the so-called white man came into rulership today. Well, the top rulership, head rulership from the Greeks. And with a great fury and utterly to make away many. And he, because the thief come not but to rob, kill, and destroy. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, which was that's talking about in Babylon, Iraq, because that's where he died at. He set his tabernacle, which is his tent, his dwelling of his palace between the seas. The seas is the Persian Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, which is Iraq. He set his rulership, because that's where he died at, of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. The holy mountain is holy Israel. Yet he shall come to his end, where he died from sickness. And after this, these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. So he died. And after his death, they all pray. After his death, he died to his end, and none shall help him. Right? None can be able to deliver him out of the Most High's hand. The Lord said, unto me belong the instruments of death. The Lord said, what? I kill and I make alive. That's Isaiah. So the Lord killed Alexander the Greek, because he was on the fall during the time of he was on the fall in a time of he's going to fall and he's going to fall and he's going to fall because the next people was the Romans, which was 146 BCE, and they conquered Greece. And with that, that's now I'm starting at 20 to 24, 31 to 39, which tell you of the Romans. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. That's Nero. Nero, the king of Rome. It's the 20th chapter to 24, 31 to 39. And then shall stand in his estate a raiser of taxes. And who rose taxes in Jerusalem? That was Nero. He was known for that, the first king of Rome who had the rulership over the whole Middle East after the Greeks in 146 BCE. Nero, which was the 5th emperor from Rome, he rose taxes, and he shall be destroyed. Nor in anger nor in battle, because one of his gay lovers killed him, but because he knew that the other Roman military wanted him dead from being the emperor, because this military was after him because he was a little homosexual and he had sex with men. And the mighty men of Rome, they sought to kill him because they didn't want him to be their king no more. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person. That vile person is Gessius Florus. Gessius, Gessius, Florus, Florus. He was a client king. I mean, not a client king. He was the procurator of Rome, which was a man who taxed. A procurator was a person who get taxes from the people of Jerusalem. And if you ain't pay your taxes, the military is going to come against you and kill you. That's why he's a vile person. He was stealing from the procurator. He's stealing as a procurator, and he's going to get to it. And his estate shall stand up a vile person to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom. Right? The Romans didn't give the honor of the kingdom to Gessius Florus because he wanted the client king. He was just a procurator. The client king under Rome was the Herodians, the Herodian dynasty. But this time about Nero, to whom they, and Gessius Flores, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall be come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Right, he obtained the kingdom by flatteries. He became, he obtained the money and the riches of Jerusalem by flatteries, by turning the Jews against the Gentiles, because there was a big uproar in Jerusalem about the Gentiles and Jews, about the Gentiles and the Jews. And he fathered, and Nero, and Gessius Florus, which was a procurator of Rome, a Edomite, a so-called white man, he took sides with the Gentiles against the Jews who kept God's commandments, which was the apostles and righteous chief priests. That's why I say Michael and his angel fought against the dragon and his angels. He was his messengers, because the messengers of the most Michael, which is a ministering spirit, the Most High, his brothers, is the angel, the walking. Those the disciples. They are the disciples. That's who he favored. He favored, and but he shall come in peaceably obtain the kingdom by flatteries, right? By flatteries, which was saying that he for the Gentiles, but he wasn't for them, just because they was against the Jews, because they wanted to do in the ways of the Israelites, just like the Samaritan woman. She was a whore, but she knew about she knew about her things that pertain to the Bible, and because it was well known about Jesus the Christ, Yahushua. And so the Gentiles is those that came from out the world and different, and knew that they was Israelites, but they was wicked and they weren't doing God's commandments, which the Lord wasn't dealing with. So, and he turned them against each other by favoring the Gentiles, which had knowledge that they was wicked Israelites. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflowing from before him, and he shall be and shall be broken. Yea, also the prince of the covenant. Right. This is talking about and with arms of a flood. This the Romans, they came and destroyed Jerusalem. They came and destroyed Jerusalem. And with the arms of a flood, right, his officers, there was Roman officers, and with an arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him. Right, that's the merchandise of Jerusalem. How the Gessius of Florus, he had officers of Rome with him, and they said that this money was for it was money, the money of the temple that came from the temple which the Most High set up in Jerusalem with the so-called African American Haitian Jamaicans. Gessius Florus stole and said it was for the Emperor of Rome, and he destroyed with the military officers. They be overflown from before him and shall be broken. Yea, also the prince of the covenant, and the prince of the covenant is the law, statutes, and commandments. He broke the law, statutes, and commandments by stealing from the holy temple. That was the prince of the covenant, or the sons of the covenant. The Lord said the word was a power. So it was this Holy Spirit. So he destroyed some of the Holy Spirit by stealing from it. For thee shall come up, and he shall be strong. Shalakia. Yea, also the prince of the covenant. And after the league made with him, right, the league was he was in league with the Gentiles, the Israelite foreigners who knew of their nationality, and certain Israelites who was just wicked men of the chief priests. He is in league with them. Gessius Florus, a devil, a so-called white man, a devil that the Bible speaks of. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people, right? A small people is the chief priests and different Gentile Israelites who knew of these Israelites, and he came in peaceably, like he was for Gentiles, like for their ways, against the Jews who kept the law, statutes, and commandments. Paul and Peter, and that's what was happening during the time of Gessius Florus. He had the small people and his officers and different Gentile Israelites. He shall enter peaceably even upon the fattest place of the province. The fattest place of the province where the produce comes from is the temple. That's where the gold and silver and everything what a Haitian, so-called Haitian did to the priesthood when they summoned up feast offering sacrifices unto the Most High. A lot of sacrifices and unto the Most High. They came in peaceably, and he put his hand upon the fetters of the province. He stole from the temple. The devil came not but to steal, kill, and rob and destroy. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done. Right? None of his fathers have done it, have robbed. None of none of them procreated that came from Rome. All the other procreated before Gessius Florus. They never stole anything. They never stole like he did and made a lie. Nor his father's father, right? Nor his father's father, which is men before him. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the stronghold, even for a time. Right? So he scattered them among the prey and spoiled it, right? Because he scattered among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yea, he shall forecast his device against the stronghold, even for a time. Right? He cast his plan, which was to start rumors up, and he did it with money and stuff with certain Israelites, with the Gentiles and the Jews who kept God's laws. Gessius Florus was favoring the Gentiles who's wicked. He was favoring the Gentiles. He was favoring them so that right. He was favoring the Gentiles. He was favoring the Gentiles that wasn't keeping God's laws. And he shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yea, and he shall forecast his devices against the stronghold, even for a time. That's the stronghold of the temple. Then shall he return to his land. But they fired him, the Romans fired him, Vespasian, under Vespasian dynasty. They fired Gessius Florus and put up another and put up the other procurator after him. And both great and then shall he return to his land with great riches, right? Because he robbed the temple. He said it was for the Romans to give tributary to the Romans, but he stole it for himself. Gessius Florus, which was a wicked devil and an Edomite, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant. Right, his heart was against the holy covenant, the commandments of God, because we didn't supposed to steal from the Temple Mount. That was all the Most High's possessions, the altars and the things made of brass, gold, and silver, and things that was in the Temple Mount that we worshiped in, and gave sacrifices as the Hebrew Israelites under God's commandments. And the so-called white man stole from the temple, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, right? Because he stole from him. No, thou shalt not steal. And he shall do exploits and return to his own land. But he did exploits, which was favoring the Jewish. Like the exploit is putting somebody out there as something, like putting them out there like they this and that. So basically, the exploits was that the Gentiles, he was ran for the Gentiles and one for the Jews, and to stir them up against each other so that they won't focus on the main thing and return to his own land. For the ships, now this is the 31st, for the ships of Shittim shall come against him. Right, the ships of Shittim coming from the north, which was coming from Shittim is a little island, which Shittim is a little island in the Mediterranean Sea, which is when you pass from Rome, you come through the sea unto Jerusalem. So they sent and required the Roman emperor, which was Vespasian, the emperor which was Vespasian, which was Vespasian, is Vespasian. Vespasian, the king before him, Vespasian. Right, Vespasian, Vitellius, Vespasian, under Vitellius and Vespasian rulership, they called Gessius Florus back and put up another procurator in Jerusalem. For the ships shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Right. So he had intelligence with them that forsook the holy covenant. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Right. And those dudes that was in Rome, and there was chief priests that went throughout Rome and Jerusalem, and they forsook the holy covenant. He had indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Right? He had a relationship with the wicked chief priests, who and the wicked Pharisees, wicked Sadducees, who was against the covenant and keeping God's laws. And arms shall stand on his part. Right? And his officers stand on his part. The Roman officers, which was Gessius Florus, had officers, and they enter into Jerusalem and stole. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. Salakia, that's talking about Vespasian, because Gessius Florus told them about the gold and what's going on in the predicament, which was Vespasian. He forsook the holy covenant because Vespasian and Titus stole the Ark of the Covenant, the so-called white man, the Ark of the Covenant. They stole it in 70 AD when Jerusalem fell, they entered into it, and that's talking about 70 AD, because the Lord said in 70 AD, the Lord said that don't you see every rock upon this place? It shall nothing shall be not thrown down. So an arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary. Right? They polluted the sanctuary. They put their hands to the gold and silver of the Most High God, his precious vessels of things that the Romans stole, starting with Gessius Florus unto Vespasian and Titus, and shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that make a desolation. And they placed themselves in the military. They thrown down and stole all of God's silver, and they placed themselves up as being God, a God figure. After they stole they took away the daily sacrifice, which was the temple where the Jews came to worship and pay homage to the Most High God. And the so-called white people stole from the temple. So they polluted the sanctuary and that's the abomination desolation that Titus Caesar, which was a Roman emperor, so-called white man, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. Right? He corrupted the Gentiles by flatteries. The Israelites, which was Israelites that knew that they was Israelites, and Gentile foreigners who knew of their life, their nationality, but they was against the commandments. But the people that do and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploit. Right? But the people that knew their God, who knew their God, the Lord said, hereby we know the Most High God if we keep his commandments. That's John. So those that knew the Most High was the apostles and disciples. The disciples, this was the time of the persecution of the disciples and Peter going to jail by the Romans and by the chief priest officers that was wicked men, and Paul. But that's the people that know their God, because they kept the Most High God commandments still. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Right? And they that understand, the Lord said, all I get understanding. Let's talk about the disciples and the disciples and the apostles that preach. The Lord said, go ye and preach unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So they did exploits, which was like a assembly, a gathering and assembly, doing exploits, telling the news, telling what's happening. But the people that do know that God shall be strong and do exploits, like Peter and the apostles, disciples, Mark, Luke, James, John, St. John, Matthew, Peter, Thomas, and Nathaniel, and different apostles who did exploits against them, from taking the silver and gold from the temple. And they that understand among the people shall strike many, yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, right, and shall fall by the sword, because Paul got killed in Rome and Peter got killed in Rome. The Lord said all that in this second Esdras 7 verse 28. Second Esdras in the Apocrypha. Second Esdras 7. Second Esdras 7 verse 28. And as Second Esdras 7 verse 28, for my son Jesus, which was Yahushua, a so-called African-American Negro black man of the tribe of Judah, who died and rose for the remission of sins for the Hebrew Israelites, the so-called African-American Latinos and Native Americans, to repent and resubmit themselves to God's laws from their transgression. By his blood that was shed, we was forgiven. For my son Jesus, Yahushua, shall be revealed with those that be with him, right? Who was with him, 12 disciples was with Yahushua. And they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years. After these years shall my son Christ, the Christ, die, and all men that have life. So all men that have life, they got killed. Yet they shall fall by the sword, right? They died by the sword by the Romans, and by flames set on fire. Romans, different instruments of discredited in different military weapons, and by flame, by captivity, by slavery, and by spoil many days. Right, this was happening to the chief priest, the righteous chief priest, the apostles and disciples, Peter, Nathaniel, James, Thomas, John, and Paul, and Timothy. And they that right now, when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help. Like the Lord said, when the righteous fall 6 times, yea 7, but the Lord shall uphold him. So the Lord said, now when they shall fall, they shall be hoping with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flattery. But many cleave to the wicked Pharisees and the chief priests by flattery, because they said that the white man was for them, so that's who they was for. And they was going off, different Israelites who knew about Israel, but they was going off according to the understanding, because the Lord said, well, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The Lord said that honorable men are famished. They was dried out, and they was dried out. And some of them understanding but many shall cleave to them by their flattery. And some of them of understanding shall fall to try them, to be tried them, and then the Lord, and to purge and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it's yet for a time appointed, right? In the time of end, which was starting with the Romans until now, the time of the end, when they died, those righteous men who died speaking the truth unto the Most High, to the people, to the people of Israel, because they was tried, because they did God's commandments. They was tried. The Lord said, the Lord said, I shall try thee. The Lord said, we are we're gonna be tried thee. I'm try thee he shall be tried. And let me just get it. This Zechariah 13 and 8. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord Yahweh is my God. That's the Most High God trying you, and that you're going to stick to the Most High even to death. Those the apostles and disciples. That's why Peter said, where should we go? You have the words of eternal life, and the king shall do according to his will. Right, the king, which was Titus, he did according to his will, which was the will of the ways of the Romans that send up their statues robbing, the will of the white man to be a thief, a thief. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, because he magnified himself by stealing the Ark of the Covenant. They stole the Ark of the Covenant, and they stole the menorah, the gold menorah, and he shall exalt himself, Titus. And it's a picture of Titus stealing, the Romans stealing, it's a picture of the Romans stealing, it's a picture of the Romans stealing from Jerusalem, which was a picture of Rome, a picture of Titus, a picture of Titus. A picture of Titus. A picture of Titus destroying Jerusalem. It's a picture of Titus stealing the menorah. It's called Titus and the menorah. Titus was the Caesar of Rome after Vespasian, his brother. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, because the Most High is the God of gods. He the creator of all creation, the Most High, the Heavenly Father, above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods. Like he said, Titus, like, who shall stop him from stealing this menorah? And he boasted himself in pictures and ways that the chief priests had failed by, which they was because the ark was stole by Titus and them. So he's worshiping a god because he stole things that was the praise of the Most High from the sanctuary, the temple mount. So he showed himself with a strange god, because that wasn't Roman god. Roman gods was Zeus and different Serapis and different gods, and Theos come from Rome. But he magnified himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods. Where he said none can stop him. Where against the God of gods, the God of gods is the Most High God. He spoke because God said his sanctuary belonged in the middle of Jerusalem, which was God's land. Of all lands, he chose but one pit, which is Jerusalem, the Holy Land, Mount Zion. So he magnified himself against God of gods, that saying that he is God, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, right? And he's going to prosper in that until the indignation comes. And the indignation is the righteous anger of the Most High, which he had against us, the so-called African American Negroes, Haitians, and Jamaicans, which were the lost three tribes of Jerusalem, which stayed in Jerusalem because of King David, which was 2 Kings 11 and 31, tell you the split of the so-called African American Negro king Solomon, which his son, his seed line, Rehoboam and Jeroboam, became 2 kingdoms in 2 Kings 11. So the God of gods, the Most High God, is Yahweh of gods, which gods that was which was celebrated, which was Theo, Zeus, Serapis, and different goddesses of Babylonianism, Ishtar, Ashtoreth, and Baal. Them all other gods, but it's one true living God named Yahweh. He exists. He be. He alive. He is power. And Yad He Vad He in the Hebrew, in the pure Paleo Hebrew, is Yad He Vad He, which is his nativity, his power. And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Right, and that was which shall become, it shall be done, which was the Deuteronomy 28. We going through captivity. The Lord shall bring me into Egypt again with ships. That's why ships is which was on ships. Again into Egypt. The Lord gonna bring us into bondage with ships and slave ships. And no man shall buy you. No man shall be able to save you from this that I'm bringing on you. Because the Lord said he killed and make evil. He called he good and peace. Because Israelites was wicked and they were sinning against the Lord. The so-called African Negroes, Jamaicans and Haitians, they were sinning against the Lord. So that was God's anger, which was to scatter Israel from and under the curses, to fulfill the curses of Deuteronomy 28, of your child being taken from you, you hanging, you being hung, and that lynching by the so-called white man, the devil. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, right? So Titus didn't regard the God of his fathers, which was Zeus, and them, because the Most High, their gods was mythical. They dealt with mythology, the Roman mythology. They were pagan Romans, so they believed in witchcraft, ritual spells. So he magnified him, but he in his east, neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women. Right? Titus put away his women, his wives, so that some can snake him, like his wife can poison him, or some. That's why he forsook having wives, because he took Jerusalem. He was boasting in pride that he slaughtered the Israelites and took over Jerusalem and stole the gold in the Ark Covenant, and they stole the menorah. They stole the menorah, which was a 7-day cycle menorah. They got to do with the Hebrew Israelites of creation. The so-called African American, Negro, blacks, Haitians, Jamaicans, Mexican, Puerto Ricans, and Cubans, and Dominicans, Native and Seminole Indians, so-called Argentinians, the Colombians, they the Israelites. But in his east, right, he nor desire women, nor regard any God, right? He didn't regard the Most High God because he didn't keep the commandments of the Most High God, and he didn't regard Zeus and them either because he kept the gold and stuff from not worshiping his gods. For he shall magnify himself above all. Like Titus magnified himself. He took pictures of himself holding the menorah and stealing it. But in his east they shall he honor the God of forces. And who the God of forces? The God of forces is the Most High, Yahweh. The God of forces. Forces is military. The Lord said what? In Exodus 15 and 3. Exodus 15 verse 3. Exodus 15 verse 3. The Lord, Yahweh, is a man of war. The Lord is his name. So he is the God of forces, is the Most High God who forced creation, forced military, and a God whom his fathers knew not. Right? None of his forefathers worshipped the menorah, the spirituality of the menorah and the Ark of the Covenant. They worship Zeus. So rappers, they worship mythology, pagan mythology. So Titus was lifted up in his heart, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. Right? That's what he kept to himself. He magnified himself because that was the Most High menorah and his present vessels that was created on it. The holy vessels, the gold of the menorah, and the devil stole it. Titus, Roman, that, and the Most High Yahweh coming back. Yahweh coming back for revenge. He said, vengeance is mine, I will take. The Lord said, vengeance is in his heart. And a God whom his father knew not shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds, right? The most strongholds is God's temple, which was fell in 70 AD. The Lord is my strength and my fortress, my redeemer, in whom I trust. That's what and saying Psalms. So the most strongholds is where God put his force at, where his feet at, where he dwelled at amongst the children of Israel. Where they most strongholds, where they strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, right? So they knew, they praised him when he came back with gold and silver in Rome from conquering Jerusalem and destroying it. And that's how a lot of people acknowledge Titus, from him taking down Jerusalem. That's how he got his attention, because they was all lame and corny, homosexual, sodomites, Edomites, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many. Like he caused the ways of what he accomplished in Jerusalem, caused that to be known. That's when he got known over all Rome, and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. Right, he divided Jerusalem for gain, and that's what happened to Jerusalem. It fell to this day. The Jerusalemites in Israel, they not returned to their homeland yet, because the Lord said that he shall divide the land for gain, and that's what Jerusalem divided right now from the so-called white race with Titus, from Titus taking Jerusalem, and is divided right now by these Arab, these so-called Palestinians, which not the original Palestinians. The really original Philistines is which was they tall black Africans, and shall divide the land for gain. And the so-called white Jewish Edomites, which was just like the Idumeans, who wanted to be like Jews and keep their customs, but they were faggots, which was Amalekites. The Idumeanites, the Herodians was Amalekites. Jewish Edomites, which was white people who converted to the knowledge of the Hebrew Israelite doctrine of the chosen seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Deuteronomy 7:6, above all people. And he shall divide the land for gain. That's why Jerusalem divided right now. According to Job, he divided the land. Is Job, Job 1. Job 3:1. For behold, in those days and at that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, the Most High gonna bring again the captivity of Judah and Israel. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Mashaphat, Yahweh's judgment, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land. That's Job 3. And parted my land. So the Lord said what? And shall divide the land for gain. So Titus divided the land. He destroyed Jerusalem and divided it for gain. That's why the Lord said they have took hold. The Idumeans have with all their heart. They have boast. They have with all the joy of their heart. It's Ezekiel. Ezekiel 30:5. Therefore, thus said the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy, 36 and 30, Ezekiel 36:5. Therefore, thus said the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, right? The remainder of the heathens, which is all these heathens that's left in life after the destruction, and against all Idumean, which have appointed my land unto their possession. Right, they pointed my land unto their possession. The Lord said they have parted my land against the Palestinians, the Arabs, and the so-called white race. Idumea is Greek for Edom. The Edomites, the so-called white people, Jewish white people, are the Edomites, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Right? That's what they divided the land for gain, for prey. And that's the same people that the Idumeans and the Edomites, which was Titus, who did away with 70 AD. And with that, Shalom, there's Daniel 11, whole chapter.